me and the granddaughter have been watching Bob Ross painting. And I told her this morning I'm interviewing Derek Ross, and she said, Derek Ross, is that the same family as Bob Ross? And I was like, no, I had to tell her no.
Yeah.
But I was like, I was going to make the joke that you're the Bob Ross of Nostr.
Oh, man.
Which I don't even know if that makes sense.
Happy little trees everywhere.
Happy little applications everywhere.
Happy little applications. Let's just put a happy little application over here. A happy little application here. Yep. Let's just tweak it this way.
Hey guys, I got to talk with Derek Ross. He is a Nostr evangelist. He also runs Nostr Plebs and Nostr Nests. I'll put all those links below. But Nostr is a new user-controlled internet of freedom and innovation. Guys, it's like a new internet where individual users have full control over their experience, their visibility, their data. Nostr is amazing. We're going to discuss what is Nostr exactly, why it's important, how you can easily get started, the vibe of Nostr, the most popular apps, and a lot of links are going to be below, and also best practices and everything. So enjoy this chat with Derek Ross. Let's go. All right, Derek Ross, finally get to speak with you in a little more depth than we met about a year and a half ago in Nostrville. But thanks for coming on, my brother.
Absolutely. Great to be here.
Yeah, so we're going to talk about Nostr, and we're going to keep it simple because Nostr is so new, and most people are not involved with Nostr yet, and they don't know what it is. And even people who are on Nostr, like myself, I still don't understand most of it. So let's just start with what is Nostr. How do you describe it to people who don't know anything?
So Nostr is the freedom to communicate. It's a new open source protocol, and that sounds really kind of geeky, kind of technical. So we're just going to say it's decentralized and censorship resistant communication. There's no CEOs, there's no mods, there's no centralization, and there's dozens and dozens and dozens of applications that can all use this same communication protocol. So it's really cool.
Yeah, I love the censorship resistance, and in a way, to me, someone described it to me early on that it's similar to Bitcoin in that there's not a company behind it. No one controls it. No one can kick you off. I mean, technically you can be banned from a relay or something, but you can make your own relays and no one can stop you.
The same as Bitcoin. You could technically have an address be banned, from a specific node. Well, you can run your own node. And the same regard happens with Nostr, right? You can run your own Nostr node. We call those relays, but just think of it just the same as a Bitcoin node. You run your own Nostr node if you want to for all of your social data. Just like with Bitcoin, you are running a node, so you're in charge of your own financial transactions. Well, with Nostr, you would run your own Nostr node to be in charge of your social transactions. And then you're in charge of, what applications you use. You're in charge of your own feed. You're in charge of backing up and restoring your own data, publishing your own data. It's really cool. You can't be censored that way unless you want to censor yourself. You probably aren't going to do that. So you're in charge of your whole entire social graph. And that's what's really, really cool. Because up until recently with Nostr, if you use Twitter, you use Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, all the major tech company social platforms, you didn't control your data. You don't control your social graph. So this puts the power back with the user, and you're in control of everything now. It's really cool.
It's really cool, and it's really early days, and it is being built as we speak. But to me, it also seems like the next version of the internet. It's like the new internet.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Because I like to say that if you think about every single app that you use day to day, every app you have on your phone, a lot of them have some type of social communication to it, whether it be, leaving a comment on a forum or on a video, a picture, or doing a review for a product or something. There's a lot of social built into the web today. And the vast majority of these applications could be rebuilt to use Nostr in mind. So you would have one identity that you would take with you to all of your social applications. And maybe we are going to do that. Maybe we're going to rebuild all these social layers, all these social applications that we use, and we're going to be in charge of our content and our identity and our attention. So it's really cool. You're absolutely right. We are rebuilding and reimagining the web right now.
Yeah, one of the most fascinating aspects to me is that when you use Nostr and people follow you, you know, you can sort of like build an audience or build a social network, friends,
Yeah.
and you can use one Nostr app and all your friends are there. Then you just go use a completely different app and all your friends are there.
Yeah.
Your friends travel with you.
Absolutely. How cool is it that you can listen to your music on, let's say, a Spotify alternative, and then you can pop into, let's say, an Instagram alternative, and then you can pop into your Twitter alternative, or yeah, alternative app, and it's all the same social graph. You have the same contacts, same friends. So when you share a music video or a song or something that you like on one app, if another app has that type of content available, you'll see it, and your friends will see the interaction. Oh, Derek's listening to this song on his music app, and oh, Derek just posted this photo. It's all interconnected if you want it to be. It's really, really cool, and it's something we don't have anymore because everything is siloed. All these platforms are siloed, and it's good for them, but it's bad for us.
Yeah. Oh, the worst is that any of these platforms, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, they can just ban you in a second. They don't even have to tell you why or anything. It's
And we see that happening a lot. I mean, over the past few years, but increasingly more often, governments and large tech companies basically advertise the need for decentralization and the need for Nostr. When every time they censor or shadow ban, change their rules, whatever. Like, I mean, this happens all the time on Twitter. You're seeing Elon coming up with new rules every other day or week, and when he does that, he's literally saying, "I'm in control and I'm making all the rules." Oh, by the way, this is the free speech platform, but it's not. It's literally like it is not, and he advertises this every single day. So we need better alternatives, and that's kind of what the developers and the community, is all rallying behind with Nostr. This back to basics where users are in control of their data, and free speech is not impacted.
what a concept. People being in charge of their own data and free speech.
Yeah. Well, and you're in charge of your attention too. I like to tell people that because if you're using, again, all the big platforms, you're going to see the algorithms dictating what you see as often as they want to and pushing narratives if they want. And then we have these rage algorithms that make us doom scroll and make us angry, but we keep coming back to be engaged. It's not healthy. Yet we do this. And because there's no better alternatives. But Nostr doesn't have algorithms at the protocol level, and the people that are building algorithms, they're all transparent, and you can opt into them and turn them off and on and tweak and customize. Like, you can have your own feed completely void of algorithms, or you can choose and become your own algorithm. It's really an interesting concept.
It really just explodes brains because we've never had this before.
Yeah.
It's really brilliant. So I have an Android phone. I mostly use the Amethyst app, which is a Nostr app. I love it. It's great. And so let's talk about the most popular apps.
Sure. So if you're on Android, the most popular apps are going to be Amethyst and Primal. Primal is a great solution that is very similar to Twitter, but it has a built-in wallet for you to use to make sending and receiving zaps easy. Zaps are, we'll get to that in a minute. Zaps are just Bitcoin payments that are integrated into Nostr. So Primal has this very basic but very, very fast and sleek, almost like a Twitter alternative. And there's some extra bells and whistles in there, like reading blog posts and different configurable feeds. So you can choose all these different algorithms if you would want to, and that's really cool. Amethyst, I like to say, is like kind of like a Swiss Army knife. Amethyst has so many features that showcase the power of Nostr. Has many different integrations that shows you all of the different types of applications and use cases that Nostr has. But with that, comes a little bit of a headache sometimes. Sometimes Amethyst maybe isn't as fast as other applications, or sometimes bugs do exist. But Amethyst is absolutely my daily driver, because I have to have all the extra bells and whistles and all the features, and and it is a great application, and it has improved so much over the past nearly 2 years. So I find myself using both of them. Sometimes I use Primal to experience certain things. The advanced search on Primal is really good. I like that. I do that sometimes, and then I pop back over to Amethyst to do maybe browse a picture feed, or browse live events, things like that aren't on Primal. So I use both of those. Now let's jump over to Apple, because I know there's a lot of iOS users out there. I am not an iOS user, but I have used the most popular apps on iOS, and that's going to be Damus, which is it's a very Twitter-like application, very, very fast, very smooth, probably the fastest and probably the most sleek Nostr app out of all platforms. And then also Primal is also available for iOS too. And Primal has the built-in wallet again, which makes zapping really easy if it's available in your country.
Sweet. Yeah. And what I've noticed is that these apps we just talked about, these three apps that specifically you just mentioned, are all kind of like Twitter clones or X, whatever. But you can build anything on Nostr. There are a bunch of other different types of apps, which we'll talk about in a second. But I think starting with one of these apps you just said is the place to start, just to get on there, create your account. And so
absolutely. Get your feet wet, right? Like, it'll allow you to kind of experience Nostr a little bit. You'll see some maybe confusing terms and kind of get used to them. You'll hear people talk about an npub, which is just kind of like your username. And you'll hear people talk about an nsec, which is basically a password that you can never change. So you want to give people your npub. Think of it as your Nostr public address, or your Nostr public key. And then your nsec is your secure key, your secret key. And you don't want to give that to anybody. That unlocks access to your account, essentially. So you keep that safe, just like you would keep, Bitcoin seed phrases safe, any, passwords safe. Maybe you put it in a password manager. You don't want to go around and be copying and pasting your nsec all over the place, because you can never change it. And that, like I said, that unlocks your identity. So you need to keep it safe. You'll hear people talk about things called relays, and that's kind of like the social nodes that house all of the Nostr data. And relays can be kind of confusing, because people will ask, what relays should I use? And ultimately, it shouldn't really matter, because to keep Nostr decentralized, we all shouldn't use the same relays. So you can use the relays your client recommends to you to get started. That's going to be fine. But maybe in the future, maybe you want to run your own relay and you want to publish all your content to your own relay. You can do that. There's paid relays, because running server infrastructure hardware has a cost associated to it. So it's good to pay for a service that you're using. So maybe you'll pay a couple dollars a year, maybe a couple dollars a month, depends. There's all sorts of different options there. I would say don't really worry about it too much in the beginning. You just want to, kind of familiarize yourself with how these work, and adding new ones from time to time, and removing ones that maybe you don't want to check out anymore. But there's large public relays, there's smaller community relays, there's private relays, and then there's obviously ones, like I said, you can run for yourself. You can run one for your family, your work, your business, whatever.
Yeah, and just to be clear for everyone, when you download one of these apps like Damus, Amethyst, or Primal, and you create an account, they will automatically connect you to certain relays, and so those default settings in the beginning are probably good enough just to get started, right?
Derek? Yeah, absolutely. Whatever your client's suggesting to you to use, go ahead and use those until you see a need to explore, and look into doing a little bit more, maybe running your own relay. But for now, just whatever relays. There's a pool of relays that a lot of clients will randomly suggest to you. Some clients, like Amethyst, will show you relays that your friends are using and give you the option to add a relay that a friend is using, things like that. But ultimately, it doesn't matter because we're all moving to this method that anybody can run their own relay or join any relay, and we can all communicate together. And it drastically increases decentralization and censorship resistance this way.
Yeah, that's beautiful. So real quick, just overview how someone can get started. They go to their phone, they download the app, whichever app, one of the apps you just talked about.
Yeah, so I will preface this by saying that Nostr is really technical, and the onboarding could be a lot better. Developers know this, and there's been slowly focusing on a better onboarding experience. So Primal does really good onboarding. I think Damus does really good onboarding. Amethyst has no onboarding whatsoever. Amethyst is basically for your more technical or inexperienced users. So if you want a little bit of an onboarding where it'll help you set up your profile and tell you, what to do next and step you through the process, Damus and Primal have the best onboarding that there is right now. So you would search your Google App Store or your Apple App Store for Primal or Damus and install one of those applications. If you're a more advanced user, check out Amethyst. iOS has a more advanced app too with many features. I'll just mention it. It's worth mentioning. It's called Nostr, Nostur. It's kind of like French sounding Nostr. But you can search for Nostr and have a more advanced app on iOS that has a lot of the features that I was mentioning are in Amethyst, and Nostr is very similar in that regard for iOS.
Got it.
But yeah, so you're going to create your account. You're going to create your keys. You're going to get your public key, the npub. And you're going to save that to give to all your friends and family. You're going to get your nsec, and you're going to put that in a password manager to keep it secure. And create your profile. Upload a profile picture, add a bio so we can find you. And create your first introductions post, hashtag introductions, and tell us a little bit about yourself, just like you would on any other social platform. And we will find you and welcome you aboard. And then if you have any questions, you should always ask. Everyone on Nostr is very nice and willing to help because we want Nostr to succeed. So people are all the time starting out asking questions. There's no dumb questions. You ask any question you want, and you'll have 100 people answering, any time of the day trying to answer it for you.
Yeah, the hashtag Ask Nostr is just great. Like if you have a question, you just tag it with that. You'll definitely, usually get an answer.
Yeah.
But yeah, and so secure your nsec, secure that, and then one of the things that I was told in the very beginning is just because I've heard of people they get their Nostr account and then they go on there and there's not much happening, and I've even seen you tell people this all the time. You just got to follow a lot of people. Yeah. So find someone maybe you know or like, and maybe even just see who they're following, because you can see who they're following, and just follow a bunch of people. That's helpful, right, Derek?
Yeah. So we like to say there's there's no algos, or there's very minimal algorithms on Nostr. But in saying that, it's kind of two-faced here. So there's good and there's bad for that. It's good because there's no one dictating what you see. We love that. But then that also means that you have to work harder to find users and find content, because a lot of that isn't being surfaced that well. Or to enable that to be surfaced, you have to go through a couple of different steps. And a lot of people may not do that right away. So you need to do the work. There is no blockchain with Nostr, but I like to say it's a proof of work protocol, because you do need to do some work. You need to engage with people. It's not going to be like your big influencers on Twitter that go and post something and then never respond to anybody. That's not going to work. You need to respond to people. You need to be actually social with them and engage with people and do the work, because software isn't going to do it for you. And if you're not seeing your feed bopping at all hours of the day, if you're only following 10 people or 100 people, that's probably why. Follow a couple hundred people, maybe even follow 1,000. I tell people all the time to follow 1,000 people, and my feed is always moving no matter what time of the day I'm on my phone. So follow more people if your experience is bad. That's the best advice I can give you. And if you're not having people engage with you, or follow you back, well, you need to let them know that you're there. And you do that by communicating with them, zapping them, replying to their posts. Like, you need to engage.
Right. One thing that I found helpful too was following hashtags. Like, so I'm into music,
Yeah.
so I follow the music hashtag. So just different people post, musicians post their own music, or people who just love music post, and then you'll see those posts even though you're not following those people.
Yeah.
And then I find that I'm able to see new people, and I'm like, oh, that person looks cool, so I follow them. And yeah, it's, you really have to do it manually, but that's kind of how it should be anyway.
It's fun that way. Like it's nice to work for something. Like instead of being spoon fed, like it is. I thought you mentioned hashtags, so I'll give you the three most popular hashtags that I follow. I like to welcome people to Nostr, so I follow hashtag introductions. Now, you're going to obviously see some people that maybe spam that or aren't doing an introduction post, but the vast majority of them are introductions. You mentioned Ask Nostr. I follow Ask Nostr because people use that to ask questions. But you'll also see some people just randomly tagging that hashtag as you do. And I also follow Grow Nostr because that hashtag started out as a way to expand the conversation. And people use it when they do very long notes a lot of the time. They'll put in Grow Nostr, talking about something besides Bitcoin, and they want more people to see it. So I would say follow that hashtag as well. But then, yeah, interests, photos, outdoors, music, whatever. Tunester. A lot of hashtags on Nostr have an STR after it because Nostr, I don't know why, but, like Musicster, Beerster, Tunester, Winester, like there's
Footster.
A lot of Footster. You got to follow Footster for fun.
Wow.
Yeah. So do your searches for hashtags, and if it's not coming up with anything, add a stir.
Yeah, it's really fun. And I will say about the fact that there's no algorithm, that is something that you can feel. Like when you're on Nostr, like in one of the apps we're talking about, it feels like the internet in 1997 or something. It just feels like regular people doing regular stuff, and there's no, like, nothing being shoved down your throat. It just feels good, but like you said, it does take a little more work to engage and all that. But but it's real. That's the thing.
I like to say we're just humans being humans without software getting in the way on Nostr, and you feel it. They're more real connections, especially now because the community is very small. So the most active users, you'll see them all the time, and then you can build these better relationships.
So I have like 97,000 questions for you, Derek, but maybe we'll have to get to them another time. But as far as best practices, I think we talked about much of this already. As far as engagement, is to engage with people and comment on theirs and say good morning and all the funny little rituals on Nostr that you'll see, right?
Yeah.
And then as far as security, it's that your private key, your NSEC, you got to keep that safe and never give it to anyone, basically. That's really all about engagement and security, right? Would you say? Is there anything else?
Yeah. No, I think that's it. I think there are ways. I'll mention this is a little bit more technical, but you know how with a Bitcoin wallet, it holds your private key. You can kind of have a Nostr private key wallet. There will be signing devices or signing applications to allow you to explore some of the other stuff of Nostr. So you can get an extension for your web browser so you can explore all the different Nostr web apps out there. There's so many of them. There's apps for streaming. There's apps for chatting, chat rooms. There's audio rooms, video rooms. I mean, there's everything. And then you can have a similar type of application on your smartphone for Android. There is none for iOS, but you would install maybe Nostr Connect or Albi or NOS2X for your web browser, and for your phone, you would install Amber, AMBER, and these hold your private key and pop up a notification saying, hey, this application wants you to sign this social transaction. Do you want to do it? Yes or no? And you say, yes, if you were trying to sign in and send a message somewhere. So I would say check those out to start going down the Nostr rabbit hole.
Yeah, it's a deep hole, and even half of what you just said, I literally don't know what it means, but I get the gist.
Oh
I
man,
get
well,
definitely
that means I need to come back and we need to talk about more of this stuff.
for sure, for sure. So, and let's talk about some. You mentioned some of the other types of apps,
Yeah,
because the apps we've been talking about are like Twitter clones,
yeah,
and that's for a reason. That's because that's one of the easiest apps that people understand. You can make short posts and look at other people's posts. But there's so many different apps. I want to talk about different apps. I mean, two of the ones for me that I think of immediately. Well, one of them is Geyser,
yeah.
which is a crowdfunding
Yeah,
platform.
they completely rebuilt their application almost a year ago to be a Nostr application. So all your profile, like Geyser profiles, when you start a new project, a fundraiser, that's actually that's a Nostr event, and the funding, the zaps, the payments, they're Nostr events. It's really really cool that Geyser decided that Nostr was the way to go, and they rebuilt their whole entire app to add a little bit of social experience to be a Nostr application. Another application that did that is Fountain. You may be listening to this right now on Fountain. this is a this is a great example because Fountain within the past year as well, they rebuilt their application to use Nostr. Fountain is now a Nostr application. It's Nostr comments and sharing and zapping and profiles, everything. Their whole entire social stack is now Nostr.
And just so people understand what Fountain is, Fountain is basically a podcast listening app. So you can listen to all your podcasts through the Fountain app, and now it's a Nostr app.
Yes, absolutely. There's other music. There's a music app. Fountain has music as well, but there's another music application called Wavelake. It's kind of like Spotify, and it has Nostr built into the core. It has Nostr profiles, Nostr comments, sharing, Nostr statuses, everything. It's a Nostr application.
We actually have. Sorry, Derek,
No.
For our Bitcoin Amigos show, which I do with Jerry and Jor. We actually, I think we're like the only show in the entire world that we have our own music album. We created our own original songs. We have 9 songs on Wavelake.
Nice.
And it also goes to Fountain.
Very cool.
But yeah, if you go to Wavelake, look for Bitcoin Amigos. And I wrote the lyrics for all these songs. They're all Bitcoin songs and Bitcoin Amigos songs. They're really good. We're trying to get people to hear these songs. Very cool. But Wavelake's awesome.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So we also have an app called OLOS. It's very new, but I'm super super excited about it. And I've been talking about it nonstop for like the past 3 weeks. It's an Instagram alternative, but it's built on Nostr. And recently, I was in the Florida Keys for a week for Christmas, and I said, you know what? I'm going to be one of them Instagram people, but instead of Instagram, I'm using OLOS. I'm taking all my family photos and I'm posting them all on OLOS to see if it's usable, to see if you can actually do it. And I did it, and I loved it, and I came back and I was like a changed person. Well, not because it was a beautiful weekend in the Keys. I mean, that helped, but because OLOS, I realized that this could be a huge app for people, and I've been really, 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 shilling basically OLOS. It's great. You can sign in with your Nostr private key, or you can sign in with one of those secure devices apps that I was talking about. That's a little more technical, and it's just like Instagram. You can post photos and videos. You can sit there and browse all your feeds of photos, and you can like photos, and you can zap a photo. You can pay a creator. It's really, really cool. And Pablo has the developer, Pablo. He has a lot of interesting features coming to it. Like you can have very local feeds, and you can have relay feeds and all sorts of stuff where, again, you can choose all these different feeds where on Instagram you can't. You have to use their ad laden algorithm. Well, that doesn't that doesn't happen.
Who wants that?
Yeah, nobody. No, Instagram got so, I remember, I mean, it's probably so bad now, but I remember like a year ago before I canceled my account that like every 3 photos was an ad. It's horrible. I understand show an ad from time to time, but every 3 photos, that's ridiculous. That makes it not fun. So there is none of that on OLOS. So check out OLAS, OLAS. You can find it on Apple Test Flight. So it might be a little bit hard to find, but you have to install the Test Flight because it's not fully ready yet. It's one of these like beta apps. And then for Android, it's not on Google Play yet. You have to get it like from GitHub. It sounds kind of technical, but or you can get it from Zap Store, which Zap Store is again another Nostr app where it's an app store built on Nostr. So it's kind of geeky, but really cool too, because you hear about applications getting banned and censored and all this other stuff. So now we have our own app store. Checkmate.
Thank you. Drive through. And yeah, by the way, so if you're listening to this and you're confused, just go on Nostr and ask. Just say, hey, where can I find the OLAS app for Android? Someone will respond with the link, and you will,
absolutely. Yeah. You want to say, hey, I heard you guys have an Instagram alternative. What's it called? Or, hey, I heard you have a Twitch alternative. We do. It's called Zap.stream. Or, hey, you have a Clubhouse alternative. I'll be like, yeah, that's my app. It's called nosternest.com. Or, there's so many different alternatives that people are building. And all these have really cool use cases. You want a blogging app? Hey, we have that. We have highlighter.com. Like there's all sorts of alternatives out there. Like we said in the beginning of this, we are rebuilding the internet.
And it's so exciting because it's based around the user, the people, and not a corporation. It's the way it should be now. And I always think like the first 25 years or maybe even 30 years of social media or however long it's been up till now, it's been one way. It's been centralized and controlled and censored. And now we're learning. We're becoming wise to that. And people are like, you know what? Why are we playing that game? Yeah. We can make our own game. It's for us.
I think that we kind of pushed ourselves that way because with, back in the 90s, early 2000s, we wanted to do more and more and more with the web. And the web became more readable, more writable, and more social. And then we kind of pushed ourselves to use these big data centers, and these tech companies kept growing larger and larger because they had the full technology stack. They had the software, they had the hardware, and the home user didn't have the infrastructure. We didn't have the super fast internet. People couldn't run servers out of their home. We didn't have the technology stack where it was point and click to install like a home server with a really pretty user interface. We just didn't have that. So we used other people for that. But fast forward 20 years later, technology has caught up. User interfaces have gotten that much better. Fast internet is readily available and all over the world. And we have these point and click interfaces now that if I want to run my own file server for my family photos or my family's documents or whatever, I can do it pretty much with ease. And I can go to the store and buy a hardware version and come home and plug it in and walk through the setup just like setting up a router that people have been doing for the past 2 decades. You can do that now. So the technology stack has matured, and that gives the user now these opportunities that we just didn't have in the past.
Yeah. And just one more comment before I get your final thoughts, Derek, is that I like to say, and like that Bitcoin and Nostr go together like chocolate and peanut butter, or pick your whatever 2 things go together really well. And that's, to me, that's like half the beauty of Nostr is that Bitcoin is in there. And those are 2 protocols that are just changing the world. And it really is the future. You can feel it. And so that's why I think that's one of the reasons why Nostr is a big deal, because of Bitcoin as well. Yeah.
Yeah, I like to say that the 2 will be successful independently. They don't need each other, but man, they have a beautiful symbiotic relationship together, don't they? Like they go together hand in hand. They're both independent and they're going to succeed, but man, when you put them together, it's unstoppable. The freedom to communicate, the freedom to transact, game over.
Yeah, game over, checkmate. And so that's what happened to me. I got lucky. It was like the universe. I got onto Nostr immediately. I mean, the first time I got onto Nostr, my Nostr account on my phone on the app, And it must have been during a Zapathon, which I don't know if those don't happen anymore, right, Derek?
We had a 100K Zapathon. We had a New Year's Eve Zapathon. They just don't
Okay.
happen every Friday. They're more rare now.
It used to be once or twice a week for like a half an hour called the Zapathon. It was the best thing ever. Everyone would just be zapping like absolute maniacs. And I think I got a few zaps. And when I got my first zap on Nostr, it literally changed me because the light bulb goes off and you're like, wow, like it's just, you have to experience that because then you actually realize that we can just do this ourselves. We don't need whatever that is.
Yeah, it's cool.
It's so cool.
It's a, what a time to be alive, right? Like we're taking it all back.
Totally. All right, so what are your final words to someone who's new? They want to start with Nostr. What can you say to wrap it up?
People like to say with Bitcoin, we're early, and it, and that is a meme, but also in the grand scheme of things, we are early to Bitcoin. Nostr is no different. Nostr is very early. It's only been around for a few years. I'm going to say really just the past 2 years has really mattered. Applications are less than 2 years old, really can't be compared to an application that's been around for 18 years like Twitter. So there's going to be bugs. Twitter has how many millions all of Elon's, $400 billion behind it to build it. We don't have that. Nostr is going to have bugs. There's going to be things that are inconsistent. But the best thing is it gets better all the time. So my advice in closing here is if you try Nostr and there's something that you don't like and you decide to not use it, that's okay. But in a month, in 2 months, in 3 months, check it out again because developers are constantly building, constantly improving and adding features and fixing bugs and making things better because we want this to work. They want this to work. So don't give up. Come back and check it out again.
I've actually met a bunch of people who I've sort of encouraged them to get onto Nostr, and then they get an account and they really don't know what to do. And then I'll talk to them like a few months later and they're like, yeah, I don't open it that much because whatever. And I say, just what you said, it's okay, but maybe every now and then check in. Like, it's worth dipping your toe in. It's worth setting it up and seeing what's happening. Like, that itself is worth it. And also, it's so different and it's so new that it might not be the best experience of your life every time you open the app. Yeah. So and that's okay. So,
but the alternative is KYCing on Twitter, giving Elon $10 a month to get your blue check so that your voice is heard. Because if you don't pay, you don't get seen. And now the new rules are if you're mean, if you're negative, your reach is dialed back as well. So and that this is a whole other show, but
yeah, that's a whole other show.
But we don't have that on Nostr. So even if you just dip your toes in just to get away from that dystopian nightmare that's unfolding over on Twitter X, I think it's worth it to see what the alternative is.
Yeah, and people who are artists, music artists, visual artists, they're putting their stuff on Nostr. They're getting zapped for it. They're earning more from zaps than they ever did on Spotify or any other platform. So there's a lot of exciting things happening. So
we had a DJ join 2 nights ago, and he got like $300 to $400 worth of zaps on his first post. That's not going to happen all the time, but that's wild. Like. Yeah, so content creators understand, especially musicians, how hard it is to get paid a tenth of a penny per Spotify song, where they can go and post a song on Nostr and get a couple dollars. So it's wild.
It's awesome.
It's a new world.
All right, thank you, Derek Ross. I appreciate it, brother.
Absolutely, man. Thank you for having me.
All right, see you. Oh, yeah. Hope you enjoyed that. My Nostr link will be below. The Fractal Bitcoin Nostr account link is below. After you get on Nostr, connect with me on Nostr. Let's chat. I'll follow you. You follow me. It's a one big happy family. That actually rhymed. And also subscribe to this channel, Fractal Bitcoin, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.